Assalamualaikum to Madam Rashida. My name is Siti Nurmaisara binti Muhammad Nifa. I'm representative for my group. So we are present our article review regarding the employment interview. There's 3 articles that we will present.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, we would like to introduce ourselves. My name is Nur Damia Dina binti Muhammad Azmi, and my partner is.
My name is Fatina Edina binti Idrus. Nice to know you.
Okay, so we would like to present to you about employment interview perception skills. So next slide. Okay. Uh, the employment interview perception skills was created and validated as objective of this review, which is EIPS. This scale assesses 2 aspects of the interview, which is the interviewer's opinion of comfort during the interview and interviewer's impression of the interview suitability for applicant evaluation. This also has resulted in a major increase in the amount of studies on this topic, particularly on how different selection tools and distributive and procedural fairness are perceived in various countries and cultures. Because the employment interview is the most commonly utilized selection tool, like how applicants perceive this instrument can have a significant impact on how they perceive the recruiting process. So, the objective of this study was to create and validate a scale that could be used to assess applicants' perceptions of various types of jobs interviews. It also was meant to verify the factual structure and psychometric qualities of the scale. So I will pass the slide to Fatimi.
Okay, let me start with the discussion of the article. What I found about this article is the most suitable way is by using EIPS, shorted from employment interview perception skill. This method, EIPS, is to validate a scale that will allow for the evaluation of all of the applicants' perceptions of different types of employment interviews according to the objectives that were stated earlier. And the purpose of EIPS is it will allow for the evaluation of perception the applicants have of an interview. Okay, let me start for the advantages and disadvantages of this method EIPS shorted from employment interview perception skill. At first, we got advantages. One, we can continue advancing in the scientific knowledge. But the recent research show that they only got validates in the Spanish version of the EIPS. New studies also show that using the English version are much better and needed to confirm the same results. Furthermore, the awareness in using this skill in any type of version will also allow us to know how different interviews are being recognized and to compare the results between varieties of interview formats. Okay, for the second advantages of EIPS, advances in the knowledge of applicant interview perceptions will contribute to the improvement of professional practice. The fact that the interviewer will also know in proceeding with the possible applicant reactions to the interview that they will carry out later will allow them to act accordingly. There's an example that can describe this situation where during the phase of the interview, by explaining the interviewee the reason for various sort of question that will be asking in order to perform your evaluation. which could also improve an applicant's perceptiveness of interviews felicity. Besides, they could also try helping to cope with the interviewee's anxiety during the interview section that could be described as more difficult. You can try go and ask all of the workers what they actually encountered during their interviews to get the dream job that they want. Most of them will actually answer anxiety, anxious, or even nervous. So with EIPS, they can run the interview smoothly. Third advantages of EIPS, where it can also be adapted to evaluate candidates' perceptions of other selection tool. This will allow us to study focusing on how comfort during the types of tests and their fittingness for the applicant's assessment are being perceived. In any case, it will be compulsory to validate the adaptations of the scale with the objective of confirming that it certainly meets with the psychometric criteria. Okay, I will. I'm finished about the advantages of EIPS. I will move to the disadvantages. Where the English version of EIPS aren't even available yet, and then there's only the Spanish version. As stated earlier from the newest studies, the English version are so much better to use and to understand and very needed to confirm the results. If the native of the interviewer are in Spanish, they will not able to understand about the interview's details. So the interview session will not run perfectly. Eventually, there's only one disadvantages of EIPS as it were too perfect to the point where it doesn't even got many flaws to be discussed here. Next, we will move on to the comments or opinion about the EIPS. For me, I think it is so much better to use EIPS during any interview session as it provides detailed information of the interviewee. Moreover, as stated earlier during our discussion about advantages of EIPS, that this method could also help to cope with the interviewee's anxiety during the interview section that could be described as more difficult for the session to run smoothly. As for my partner, so what is your comments about the EIPS method?
Okay. First of all, I think I will be satisfied with my result in the interview. It is because the question that had been given were bearable to answer, even though there were certain questions that I found difficult to answer. But by doing or using this EIPS, I think it makes me more comfortable to answer all the question in the interview.
Yes, I completely agree with your opinion, my partner. So we are finished about our opinion here. We will continue to the conclusion section. The conclusion for EIPS employment interview perception skill is this: the skill EIPS can contribute to a better in understanding of applicants' perceptivity of the most primary tool in personal selection. We also hope that the results of future research carried out using the EIPS will promote an improvement in personal selection practice in the interest of both practitioners and applicants. That's it from the employment interview perception scale article. So we will stop here. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you.
Assalamualaikum and very good morning to Madam Raj and all. Today we will like to presenting about article summary in communication. Our topic of the article is information and communication technology, enhanced business and managerial communication, SMEs in the Czech Republic. But before that, let us introduce ourselves first. My name is Syamimah Hanisa binti Muhammad Zulfida.
And my name is Nur Shafika binti Mahbub.
Alright, we are from class J IM1102B. So I will start our presentation now. Alright, so this article is about the use of information and communication technology in business and managerial communication. So before this, we hardly reach people. For example, in business issue between workers and manager. So based on this article, the example of a country that has been stated is Z Republic, which is their company is small and medium enterprises. The use of information and communication technology in businesses and managerial communication has recently experienced dramatic and unprecedented changes in the global business world. Right. So basically, they have two methods in enhancing the communication ways, which are conduct a systematic review and conduct qualitative researches. All right. So the first one is they conduct a systematic review, means that they conduct a true analysis of the current literature on the issue of business and managerial communication in order to have a better knowledge of recent developments in the field. For example, they make a study for what they do, and this is more like experiments. All right. The second one is conduct qualitative research, means that they get feedback from the public about ICT in enhancing the managerial and business communication in several SMEs Z Republic. SME Z Republics means in the small and medium enterprise. That is mean by SME. All right. The finding of the literature review reveals that modern business and managerial communication is defined by two major characteristics, which are interculturality and interconnectedness. Interconnectedness or connectivity. These two areas of corporate and managerial communication are relatively new, and they provide a number of issues that must be addressed in order to improve communication. The fourth one is the general awareness of the changes in business communication is limited. This is means that this statement brings meaning that not all of the company have to use this kind of method, which is using technology in or ICT. Some of the company has practiced that if they have any problem between workers and manager or anyone in the company, they can discuss face to face and not through online. However, because of the success of SME, it is so important for the growth of the national economy. It is recommended that company communication be continually improved through frequent training at all levels of the organization. Yes. Objective of the article. The first one is analyze the changes in ICT enhanced business and managerial communication in small and medium enterprise. Okay, which means that the focus of this article is to investigate changes in ICT, enhance commercial and managerial communication in ZSME. It is because the benefits of using ICT in business and managerial communication are evident, but there are some limitations that should be discovered and analyzed. The second one is to see if executives of these businesses are aware of the modern changes in communication patterns. And the third one is they have taken the necessary steps to improve communication. Okay. However, the communication strategies and setting of the investigated SME were compared to the to those of two multinational cooperation, both of which has well established communication strategy. Okay. These two multinational cooperation were held up as model and best practices. So I will pass the next slide to my partner.
Okay, for my part, I will explain the discussion of the article and the conclusion of the article. So the discussion of the article is that about the lack of assessment of the importance of business management and management communication in CZSMEs. And the next one is factors, hindering cross-cultural communication. The factors the number one is lack of a context, conducive and communication, high versus low culture. The next one is different in power distance, different in the degree of uncertainty of avoidance, technological barriers, and individual approach of cross-cultural communication. Okay, the findings of this article clearly show that although companies' communication has been significantly by the new communication trends, and staff can see the drawbacks of electronic communication with its negative impact on business in CZSMEs, the importance of the international management of business and managerial communication is still underestimated. So the next one I will explain for example, due to new trends in business processes, the majority of companies do business globally, and the paradigms of interculturality and interconnectedness are present in almost of them. And the next one, a company that fails to recognize the importance of optimized communication, both business and managerial, internal and external, risks losing competitiveness of the global market. So the next one, I will explain the comment and suggestion. The number one is focusing on specific social attributes, mind patterns, and cultural perception. The next one is researching corporate, societary interrelations and networks, engaging in intercultural license in negotiating and mediating agreements. Next is using intra-cultural and intercultural stakeholder communication networks, initiating and maintaining cross-cultural business association, building intercultural competence for teams and task force, and last one, providing cultural awareness training and presentation. Therefore, companies must attempt to invest in the development of cross-cultural awareness, which can enable more effective information sharing with employees and from employees, as well as among the managers themselves.
For the conclusion, what we can conclude in this whole article is to emphasize the importance of being aware of the significant changes in the digital workplace. Okay, which have an impact on businesses and managerial communication patterns and strategies. The finding of a study conducted in the Czech Republic revealed a low level of awareness of the issue among the analyzed SME, whose owners are unaware that communication is changing at an unprecedented rate, and that critical leadership skill will be related to how they communicate in the future international networks. For example, like right now, the current issue is about COVID-19, where everyone must stay at home and work from home. So connecting to each other through online by using ICT is really useful nowadays. So more research on business and managerial communication from the perspective of ICT departments is needed, concentrating on how they see the situation and what improvement they advise.
So me myself will present the third article that about interview ethic and hiring outcomes. First, we will take a look what is interview. According to Gary Dessler, an interview is a procedure designed to obtain information from a person or inquiries. So in short, interview is in need for someone to gain information to fulfill their inquiries. So in this problem, in these cases, interview to get a job to hiring a staff, so they will have a small conversation and a planned questions to obtain if this person is suitable for this position that they need or not. So we go through the first slide about the introduction. My first point is the employment interview is the standard means for selecting potential employers. So we already talked earlier, it is implemented by having an interview. So the second point is the prospective employers may help to assess a variety of important job relevant constructs. Next is the information obtained through the interview can help achieve psychometric synergy when combined with other sources of information. So like I said earlier, the purpose of this article research to synchronize is it really ethics is very important in interview. Job seekers are well advised that interviewers certainly resides in the quality and substance of the answers that individuals provide in response to the questions asked to them. So it means that the successful of a person is based on the answer that they given to the interviewers. And lastly, it is to examine these issues regarding the impact of interview ethics. This will assess recruiter perceptions of candidate employment suitability by having them evaluate hypothetical candidate profiles using a between subjects experimental design. So this is just a statement from the article. In short, in conclusion, the research of this article, they are using a few employment to evaluate how they are using ethics in their interview. So we will move on to the objective of the article. So the purpose of this study to assess the impact of interview ethics, perception of employment suitability. So does poor or good interview ethics bias the effect equivalent interview answer quality when evaluating candidates? So we will talk about this matter. So next we will go through this article discussion. So what is this article talk about? This article highlighted one important contribution of this research. It is providing evidence that interview ethics has a significant impact on hiring someone. Interview ethics refers to codes of conduct individual and it must follow while appearing in the interview. So like example, make sure you have resume in front of you. So that means you are well prepared for that interview. Next is why we need to do this research. It is to obtain a more precise estimate of how much interview ethics matter. Like example, body language is extremely important detail of a proper job interview details. Communication experts tell us that 80% of our communication with others is non-verbal. Non-verbal, it means doesn't have body language. It is the best way if you build trust by looking at their eyes. So that is the best way in communication. Eye contact is very important during a group interview as physical attractiveness, which has been consistently demonstrated to impact job search outcomes. Like example, using ethics in general. It is refers to the customary code of polite behavior society among members of particular or group. This will boost interviewer confidence to hire the candidate as the staff. So if you use this customary code, this will boost the interviewer confidence to hire you as the staff because the ethics that you show and the manner that you show. Let's describe about situation 1 first. So based on the situation 1, when the interviewer see Jordan, interviewer has think that Jordan has well prepared. She very determined to get this job. So that is the good point of the good ethic. But when she look at the situation 2, where Jordan doesn't even prepare herself and even doesn't silence her phone, where is the manner? So it already give a bad vibe for the interviewer about you. So we will go through the advantages and disadvantages of the ethic. So Basically, it makes you stand out. When you have ethics, you are suitable at any job because ethics is have connected also to human rights because it's about your manners. And next is used to a prize candidate verbal fluency. It wanna see how fluent you, how confident you answer the question, how your manners during the interview. Is it really you a good person and suitable for this job? So apply AT. It will make interviewers confidence with you. And lastly, of course, you have a chance to catch interviewers' eyes. You stand out, interview have eye on you. That means you have a high percentage for that job. Next, we go through the disadvantages. First is possible interview fatigue. Of course, where you doesn't apply manner or ethic during interview, it lead to many error. Like you don't have any idea how to answer the interviewer's question. So the interviewer conclude that you are not well prepared and you doesn't have interest for that job. Next is the same thing. Interviewers find you doesn't have manner, doesn't have ethic, means you doesn't have patience in that job. And interviewers find you as a boring person, doesn't have any attractiveness that make you stand out from other people. So my comments through this article, ethics is important. It doesn't apply in job interview, but anywhere you go, even ethic in internet, ethic towards other people. So ethic is significant in job interview also. So apply ethic wherever you go. So my suggestions to the candidates that will having their interview, first thing is rehearse. Try to rehearsal at home. Do your research about that company first. Brush up on body language. That will make you look more confident. And dress the part. That means dress nicely. Dress suitable with the job that you apply, and smile. Always smile during interview. That will highly recommend, and the interviewers will find you have a good ethic, good manner, and interesting person. Last but not least, the conclusion is the key to effective interviewing. Ethic is a combination of strategy, preparation, energy, and enthusiasm. Your role in the interview process is to come across as someone they can like and trust, articulating your value and ability to solve the company's pain points, and to assess for yourself whether a position is a good fit for you or not. So like I basically said, they will find a very suitable people for the job. So that's why you need ethics and manners to confident them more. Is it you already qualified, but just add on some ethic and manners to boost up their confidence to take you as their staff. So as the end of my conclusion, that's all from my group. So that's all the 3 articles that we have already present, and thank you.